Can I invite everybody back to the seats, please? That means if you do wanna follow the second part, you can stay there, but then you're gonna miss some of the screening we're gonna do now. Okay, the second part, we're gonna start off. Like I said, for me it was almost powerful to see Lee on the screen, and it was almost moments I forgot that she was on the screen. It was almost like she was standing here and talking to us. Unfortunately, she's not, of course. She's in New York, where she's building up a new studies at Parsons, which is like the design academy of the United States. And she mentioned it a couple of times. At the end, she mentioned it, and she's building up a whole new study there, hybrids, and it means theater, design, architecture, what have you not, the performing arts all mixed together. So she won't be here. We're gonna show you now like 10, maximum 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes, of an interview conducted with Lee. And I think some of the major questions I would have liked to ask her, I probably would have had a couple more, but some of the major questions that we all would like to ask her are being asked now. And afterwards, like I said before, I'm not gonna do all the talking myself. So I do expect you to come along with answers and maybe critiques. I've got some, and I'll take the role of agent provocateur on me. But I do hope it'll be an interactive session. So I think now we're going to start off with some questioning on screening of Lee, and then.
I'm curious. How do you live with your collection? I see a lot of chairs in the collection. You sit on some of them.
Some.
Does this mean, Antonin, you sit on the floor in your house right now? There is nothing left, or?
No, we have very cozy woolen couches and so. And I really look at these pieces more as objects of observation, I would say. But for a long time, when the collection was small, it was in the office and we were all hanging and sitting on it. But now we are seeking storage, and maybe we are going to take part of the office to permanently sort of place it. It's getting a bit out of hand.
It's getting a bit out of hand. Yeah, you recently also made an exhibition in Paris called Oracles, Oracle du Design, I have to say it right. And in a recent article that was written on the exhibition, but also contains an interview with you in the New York Times, you say that some of these objects were selected for their prophetic qualities.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the short story is that the CNAP is a very French institution.
And that's the Collection Nationale?
Yeah, that's the collection of 6,500 pieces, which is brought together every 3 years by a group of 10 specialists spending the money.
Yep.
And it's very interesting process because these groups of people never want to miss a beat of their time frame. So that explains that this collection is so strong, because there is this ambition. Mm-hmm. And but the exhibition is in a very young cultural space, which is called Gaieté Lyrique. So I thought it needed to be gay and lyrique. So it needs to be sort of happy, and it needs to also talk somehow. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, how can I make furniture talk? And then I thought, I just give it voices. And then came the idea of making them into oracles, so they would voice the future, and they would somehow tell us how they reflect our life. So there is a catwalk if you come in, black. It has 20 or 25 black icons, if you want, including a lot of Dutch icons. The whole exhibition has lots of Dutch design. We have had an article in the New York Times, but nothing in any Dutch newspaper. Dutch journalists don't travel anymore. Just entre parenthèses. And it's very cute because they all speak French and English. They all have their own voices. And so they tell you why they are the way they are.
And what they say can be seen in this book, which just
more or
came out.
less, but
More or less.
it's better in life. There is,
Yeah.
for instance, the collage chair of Martin, the black and the plate material sort of collage chair. And that chair actually is telling his story while he's stuttering.
Okay.
He's trying to tell the story, and which completely fits the piece. So the casting of the voices is very important.
Maybe some little publicity. The book is for sale here.
Yes.
So if you want to have a look later on, you can see, but you can also buy it. But what I really wanted to know, Lidewij, is, I mean, these pieces, they talk, they say things about their time, about who they are. They actually do what you do. You say things about your time, who we are, where we stand, and you look with us to the future. And if I look at your collection, you give us just a beautiful expose on the relevance of all of these pieces. Is this also how you collect?
Yeah, I collect. Everything I do is from my profession. So no matter what, if it's making an exhibit or writing a text or making a dinner, it's always about, trying to understand our time frame.
But it's also you. You're very personal. You have a very specific view on this future.
Well, hopefully not. It's supposed to be universal. I try to, I compare my work with other futurists or forecasters, and of course we are often on the same track. We're supposed to be on the same track. So it's maybe personal the way I talk about it, but the vision is not personal.
Okay.
The vision is given by zeitgeist, so it's a cadeau. It's the way you handle it which makes it yours, but to have these ideas is nothing creative.
But how is this for a collection? I mean, you live with some of these pieces, you have them in the office, you want to exhibit them, some you use in a very opportunistic way. You make an exhibition, and maybe there is no money to
We need them.
you just need them, and then you have them. But I mean, you're building a fantastic oeuvre in its way with a lot of. Is that also a trend? I see
well,
in the
look,
first row.
turquoise legs, turquoise polo, turquoise. So.
I'm being framed into a.
Don't
but,
worry.
but it's a way of framing. It's a way of looking at things.
Well, framing would mean that you arrest it in time, whereas I would not like to arrest it. So it's.
Is that why you call it open-ended?
This is the whole series of exhibitions also, so it's part of the series. What is better than framing? It's. I don't have a word. It's maybe laying flat, like trying to understand, sort of making blueprints of things. It's like, it's a form of understanding, but it's always moving, so it cannot be completely framed.
You follow people? You pick them up sometimes at a very early stage in their career, former
pick
students.
some of their ideas.
Yeah. What does that mean to them?
In the best case scenario, a bit of money to start what you do.
But are you aware of the importance? You're Lidewij Edelkoort. You're named one of the most influential people in the world.
Yeah, but it's also exaggerated, of course.
Yeah, but in a way, I can imagine as a young designer or a young artist being
it's
bought by
maybe
you.
nice to be part of it, I guess.
Do you make and break careers?
No, I'm not nasty. No, but I think the work we do with the exhibitions is almost more important because that's very visual. So we follow also design, form paving and form pavers in time by doing these presentations in all countries in the world. So we do it in Japan and in Israel and in Scandinavia and so on. So, for instance, the talking textiles.
There was an exhibition you made a couple of years ago.
First in Milan, and then it went to Sweden, then it went to Tilburg. Hopefully it will go somewhere else. And in a way, I think it has helped a bit because there is more focus on textile, and textile upholstering is coming back, so there's more carpets and so on. So of course it was also the time, but I think it has helped public awareness of textiles. So it's also creating awareness and yeah, helping currents. And for instance, the Gathering exhibition is really to make people understand that all this autonomous design is very important because it's introducing new ideas for new technologies for industrial. So it needs to be done to feed the machine. Because there's always a lot of critique, of course, on autonomous design. But well, it's necessary to
That's something
develop.
what always struck me is that you're a very keen follower of this autonomous design that is blending in with things that are happening in contemporary art, merging over into fashion. But whenever you talk about it, you seem seamlessly to connect this with also the modern age and machinery. The importance
Because I don't think there is no longer, almost no border anymore. Border is disappearing. And I learned, for instance, that there is now ateliers of making textile and clothes coming in Manhattan because they are sort of gluing the seams and they're doing new things so they can produce it really close by. And there is now a knitting, I got another mail yesterday, there's a knitting collective startup where they have new knitting technology that they possibly can knit you the sweater you want and then for another one. So it's serial, but it's all the time unique.
Mm-hmm.
So the unique will become industrial. So then, if you want to have a designer work for you, do you choose an industrial designer, used to make it always the same? Or do you use an autonomous designer, used to making always the unique? Possibly the answer is the last. So the debate, if you want, entre guillemets, doesn't exist anymore already. Because industry is making make-believe hand.
A lot of the
Okay, I'm going to interfere now. This will all be online within a week or so. So the whole presentation of Lee Edelkoort, but also this interview. I'm going to break in now because first I would like, are there any collectioners in the audience here tonight? No, I thought so. But are there any designers here in the room? Yeah, let me see some hands. Let me put it the other way around. Who's not a designer? Oh, there are some non-designers. Well, I want to go first to the designers here in the audience. Lee herself said so, so I think I can also say that. This is mainly autonomous design, what we see here. You young designers, you'd say you are making also autonomous design? Is that what you do, or is it what you aspire to do? Let me see some hands here, yes? Yes, so there's one. You got two, we got two. What's autonomous? I think the autonomous is where what she means is that the narrative function is more important than the actual everyday function. It's more about the narrative, the storytelling. That's the funny thing. What I've learned from Lee, and you know, I've never realized it so much, but instead of looking at design, you can also listen to design and listen to what it tells you. And it's not so much using it, but that's like, it's a more passive way of using the design. So there are some designers who think, you know, I'd like to work autonomous, even there's one more. But I think still the majority of the hands I saw wouldn't consider themselves to be an autonomous designer. Who of you young designers would say, I'm not an autonomous designer, I have a different purpose? Okay.
For me, it's important to work in dialogue. That there's something that you're connecting to. That actually, we're servants as designers. We're servants of something, we're serving something, we're in a context, and that actually design is about coming to grips with that context and delivering a service or serving that context somehow.
Okay. And you say most of these objects here, they're so autonomous, it's not about dialogue, it's a monologue? Well, I say that. I say most of the pieces here, they're not so much about dialogue, but they're about a monologue. You have to look at them and you have to listen.
So there's a narrative, like from design history, art history, there's a narrative going on, and maybe they're in a dialogue with a very particular, they're objects for designers, they're designs for designers, they're talking with, they're in a dialogue within their own field, let's say. But for me, I think I'm quite interested in finding a place where there's contact with reality or a narrative outside of our field, let's say. Otherwise it's too autistic, too, yeah.
Did you say artistic or autistic?
Autistic.
Or do you mean both?
Yeah, well, I suppose, yeah, otherwise we stay abstracted in a little bubble and we're having a conversation within our own little world. But design, why I became a designer is because I think it's a way that we can inject new information into society in a much more easy way. Like the academic sciences, they're all ossified,
Let me take this back into the group. I'll come back to you later on. I totally agree with you. If you look at most of the stuff here, I'm going to be the provocative, right? I say most of the stuff here is dated. If Lee would have been here, my first question would have been, why is it called open-ended, your exhibition? I think that says it all. I think, 130 years ago, there was arts and crafts, and then blah, blah, blah. They have Art Nouveau, Art Deco, Memphis, Droog. And then there was this art design thing 10 years ago. And I think, I come around. So I visit musea, I go to Milan, I go to different fairs everywhere. This stuff you don't see in fairs. You don't see it a lot in musea. Where you see it is in galleries, where it's sold for huge heaps amount of money. Ridiculously amounts of money, I must personally say. So for me, like I said, this is sort of outdated. Who agrees on that? Who agrees with me? Or who doesn't? Let me see. No. Who doesn't? Let's make it more interesting. Only one. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Oh, they're coming. Let's see. No offense, but let's hear it from somebody who's got maybe broader historic perspective on that. Why is it not outdated?
I think there are meanings in it which are important to try and understand, and these layers of meanings are recycled. So, and the story doesn't end. So, if you just would pop in and see this, and you never heard of Mondrian, you would miss some part of the story. But then the Mondrian story goes on. The style story goes on. So. It doesn't live in the past because the past is being recycled, and it's important to learn a bit about it.
Okay, makes sense. I saw some more hands about not being outdated. No, not you, right? Here, oh yeah, here you are. Yes.
What do you want to hear?
I want an explanation of why this is not outdated.
Because it reflects or it tells a story to the viewer, to the public, and there is public anytime. We are here now, so the objects will tell a story to us. So it's a dialogue which is never outdated.
Okay, is it? I'm gonna reflect on that a little bit. One thing, for example, struck me when Lee was talking. She was mentioning this because we can all see it here. It's in the room. The drawn from the clay, which is an investigation. As I understood it from the designers themselves, it's very much an investigation on how clay in different areas reflects or reacts in the production process. It's also about, getting intact with your soil. If you make something from your own backyard, you feel more attached to it. Me, personally, I never thought about the multicultural society looking at this design piece. So what she does is she takes an object, she looks at it may talk to her, but she sort of owns it. She makes it herself. And not almost in some aspects, not regarding what the designer means with it. It becomes her only opinion. She's sort of taking all sorts of snippets from design to build her own view on society. That makes it very personal, so that makes it also very easy to disagree with her. Who at certain points disagreed with Lee? Like me? You did? Okay, which part? Which part did you think like, ooh?
Well, also in this interview, like she didn't answer some questions which are about like, is she shaping the future because she is this like famous trend watcher, so everybody listen to her, so she creates. And on the other side, she says she observates, which she does. So she does both, but it is like in conflict with each other.
Yeah, you really think she influenced the future? Wow, that's a lot of power. Anybody else who sort of disagreed at points? Yeah, yeah, no, okay, Lee's right. Lee's right. I did have, we're not gonna, you know, like put up the old discussion of whether art or not, design whether or not can be art, but I did, when she was talking about all the design pieces, something struck me though, and that is, design is actually too fast for art. It moves too fast. If you take, for example, a designer like Studio Job, you know, this year he's doing farm, and the end of the year he's doing something with the industry, and half a year later he's doing something else. Whereas most artists, they delve into a theme, they explore, for example, the relationship between power and politics. And they do that for 30 years, 50 years, maybe a whole lifespan. You hardly ever see that with designers. So that's why design will never be art. That's my personal opinion, and I hope some reactions on that. I've got a first one here.
I think that's because how they're taught. Because we're on art school, and I also been on design school, and it's true, design goes way faster, but if you, yeah, it's really how you're taught, and in art school, they teach you to dig into stuff deeper and deeper and deeper, and just go on, and that's also quite difficult, because it's, yeah, it's going too slow. So maybe art should change.
Do you think art should change? Oh, wow. Well, please, I need some reactions now. Anybody thinks art should change? Well, I've got one here first. Let's chew on that for a second.
I think design is different because we're always wanting more and wanting more of material and that kind of things. And I think in art it's more about the message that you try to say. And in design it's really important that you also be better in your materials and that kind of stuff. That's why we want more, because we, when we see things too much, it maybe get bored, because, yeah, sorry. So that's, but art is all, it's all about the message, and I don't think that you have to hurry to bring out your message if you want to have a deeper layer, or how do you call it? Yeah.
You get more time to chew on something. I'll be right back with you. You had a question? No? Okay, sorry about that. No, here I am.
Also, Olafur Eliasson, his objects are... Yeah, no, it's mine now. No, so, Olafur Eliasson, he's an artist. His lamps or his things are almost products. They're sort of a product design. And James Turrell, is he an architect, or is he an artist of experiences? I think it's a question of sincerity and intention. So it's back to being of service or of not being of service.
No, I don't agree. Totally not. I think designers limit themselves too much. You were mentioning about materials and everything. Then there's the function, and it has to be a mask. Why can it not just be something beautiful without a function? There's always the function. There's always the material. I think that's what bugging the designers. Yeah, you guys. Still no reaction? Oh, wow.
The funny thing is, all the things I see in here and that she's talking about, most of them, for me, look like art and not like design. So she kind of chooses things that have maybe a poetic or lyrical quality that stays longer than a short mindset, a product with a function.
Okay. Still no reactions? Yes.
But the thing that she said, it's always changing the dialogue in the years. I think that makes something art-worthy, because it keeps bringing up new questions and new possibilities. And if it's just a product that it stays in its own time, then it's more like a design, maybe.
Well, I think the most important thing that has spun out of this era of art design, for lack of a better word, is that it really opened up the doors of design. That you know, the story of an object is just as important as the practical function, and that's really something that has really broadened up the design era. What I do miss, though, in a lot of these objects is they're really, Lee said it herself, they're not so much autonomous, but they're too individual. They're made by this one designer who feels like an artist and his view on the world. And I do think, you know, I'm provoking a little bit, but I do think that the role and the responsibility of a designer is a different one. And that's engaging with the world. And I think that's maybe the main difference between an artist and a designer. That an artist can lock himself up in the cellar, but a designer always has to engage with the world.
But no, but I disagree, because I think. but do you think that a moment something is standing in a room and you look at it, is it not engaging with it?
Nope, not necessarily. I mean, that's just a buck ugly lamp. That's what it is. And if that's the only engagement I have with it, yellow, green, white, orange, glass, shiny little blob thing. So no, not necessarily.
The moment you see it, you can tell something about it. Oh, it's green, it's white, it's yellow. It's already engaging in some level. Is engaging only like touching something, you sitting on it, or is it also like with art, looking at something and developing your thinking?
I think a designer should aim at more than engaging, being like looking at it and saying, "Oh, that's stupid." I think as a designer, you should put the bar a little bit higher than that.
I have something to add maybe. For me, like an artist, it is like you place something in the world which comes from yourself, and as a designer, you reflect what is already in the world.
Well, I've seen some pieces here that's not so much reflecting on the world, but designers reflecting on themselves.
No, designers, they reflect on the world, and that's why it goes faster, because the world is changing, so design changes, and an artist, he can sit there in the atelier painting, and he can do that like forever.
Okay. Makes sense, good point. I take it back to this mask, for example. I don't necessarily see this as a reflection on the world. It's just a designer in his atelier, you know, exploring materials and making a mask. If it's art, and I definitely don't think it's art, it's really, really bad art. Why? Because because it's not engaging with the world, and it's not about it's too individual. It's a remarkable mask. Let's leave that there. Sorry?
The mask is also a design. You engage with the mask. If I bought it, I would wear it, for example, and then it's a product. It is a design.
That's what makes a design. There's always this function. You know, when designers move into the realm of autonomous or art, there's always has to be a function. There has to be a lamp, or you have to be able to sit on it, or something like that. I think most of the designers who really, you know, like would have their work here are too scared to be artists. Oh. Okay, I think I'm right because everybody agrees.
Scared of being an artist. So I use design to express myself, but also engage.
So, but engaging and engagement with the world, that's really important for all you guys. I mean, for who of you designers here, it's not so important to engage with the world. Who thinks screw the world? I'll make whatever I want. No one, huh? No one. I bet you, Bert-Jan Pot, when he was making that mask, he wasn't engaging with the world. He was just playing around, fooling around with materials.
I've been asking myself this question a while, actually. What's the designer, what's the artist? Now, I think there's, first of all, we have to bring it back to we're creatives, and then the job title comes later. And then, so at the Design Academy, there's the image of the designer, you know, wearing black, you've got your nose up, I'm an elitist, you know? Yeah, all of this. And then you have, like Mathieu Mayes is one of the teachers there, you've got these amazing creative beings that when you see them in their creative process, they lose themselves in it. They become the creative process. You're not really talking to an image anymore. And that's the authenticity I'd like to reach in myself as creative. And whether that's through design or art, that depends. And of course, Mathieu, after he's stopped creating, he's engaging with the public, he's got this image. But there's this authenticity to the creative process where there is no longer this image of designer artist where you're just what you are. And I think the best people, the best creatives, designers, artists are not a designer or artist, they're a Piet Van Eyck or they're a Mathieu Mayes. They are so themselves that they don't have a job title anymore. They are the creatives that they are. And that's transcending the job titles. And whatever we're trying to cut it up into, you know, design, art, blah, blah, blah. It's just, again, the rational mind trying to define and look at it, but actually it's all creativity, you know, it comes from...
Point taken. Let's all art design thing. I want to pose another question. What I lack with say 99% of all the objects in this room and the other room as well, that they do so little for the world in real, actual, in a real urgent way. I mean, the world is at fire. It really is. And if it's not on fire, it's melting down, or, you know, there are huge problems. And what do we make? You know, a chair, you know, I'm too scared to sit on it. Or the mask, you know, should design, I think design should be able to do more, to make more of an effort than what I see here. So who agrees with me?
Could you be really critical and say that you dislike everything and just make a statement, please?
I'm not disliking you. No. I'm just trying to get, you know, I'm just trying to get a, no, it's not up to me. I'm not sort of judging. I'm really, you know, you guys are young designers. I'm really curious what you think. What's your opinion? Doesn't matter what I think, but I'm just curious. Don't you think that design, you know, it has more to it, that it has a larger responsibility than making, you know, the stuff that I see here? Or not? Am I mistaken?
Well, your reasoning is kind of mistaken. So you're confusing this collection and the exhibition of the collection with the purpose of design. So if you go to the graduation shows of the Design Academy or the Eindhoven Design University group, you see many young people engaging with the world and being aware that there are lots of societal problems, making contributions to that. So that's absolutely a role of design, and it's happening. This is a collection, an exhibition of collection, and we can learn many things from that. So they need not be identical. Becoming more sensitive by looking at this exhibition is a contribution to becoming a designer.
Let 1,000 designs blossom, like Mao would have said. We all knew where that led to. Okay, I've got a remark or a question here.
I think you can work on society on different scales. So if you're inspired by big problems, you can work on them. But maybe I'm inspired by getting closer to people and really work on the everyday life, and I can change culture with it.
It's sort of the slow route. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we all, of course, I was joking a little bit, of course, we all agree that there's room and there's even a need for these kind of very elaborate artistic designs that, well, if it's not a dialogue, at least it's a very interesting monologue. They have to tell this storytelling of design. But I do think it was something, you know, like we had Memphis and we've had the Droog, we've also had the art design, and it's sort of, it's open-ended. It's ended, it's still open, it goes to another level, and it might be of influence on different levels, but as a discipline, there's not much innovation coming from it.
I just want to say one thing, because the Design Academy is the context for Lidewij and for all these things. You have to appreciate that it's designers being assessed by professional designers, and this sort of design grows out of that context. It's design for designers. It's making a very sort of the context isn't for other users. It's within the context of the Design Academy. You're designing for your teachers, and it's
Incestuous.
it's something like that. It's designed for designers, and that's a big part of the context for all of these objects that I see. She's seen where there's a dialogue, or it's actually a monologue in design, but it's a dialogue between the designer and the other designer, let's say. That's the ultimate context.
Okay. Yes, please.
I think that in the world of art and design, basically, we're basically reinventing new shape. Basically, we're analyzing again what's going to happen. So basically, we're preparing ourselves for the future, asking new questions, short questions, because the times are changing really fast and there are a lot of things happening. But what is the right language to translate that? Because we already have the functional aspect, we know what to do. But what is the right way to add it to that culture and make people understand that? And not make it uncohesive, like almost racist, like to put a product that actually not embraces that cultural aspect and that's a blend with the society it's at this moment.
Okay, so we shouldn't see this as a high-end design thing. You look at this as a laboratory, and then not of technical innovation, but of cultural innovation, of what we, not so much of what design or what society is or can be, but even what it should be. Okay, point taken. Really good. You almost got me convinced here.
Hello. First off, when you talk about Memphis as an art design thing, that's not true, because Memphis was meant for mass production. It just didn't work.
Can you name me 3 Memphis products that were actually mass produced? 2. 1.
No, I can't. Yeah, but that was not the thought behind it, and I think that's the important thing. When you look at design today in the schools, I think that this clash between design and art is not existing anymore, because they're kind of overlapping in many places. And when you look at the degree we get in the design school, we get an art bachelor, actually. I look around here and I see many of these products as kind of experimental products that is used in a way also for a designer to communicate kind of an extreme form of their language. And many designers use this to get attention also for smaller products that will come in mass production or is meant for bigger production scales. So it's also kind of a way to promote themselves very cleverly. And that's exactly what she does, and designers know this. So that's also why I think that they're very decorative, because it's pretty clever that they know how to brand themselves also and get out with a message.
Okay, but do they brand to get the message around, or is the message sort of, part of the branding, and with the branding, the wealth and the fame?
Well, I guess there's a reason why it's here and why she sees it. I mean, yeah, so I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think so.
So we could almost say this is sort of a pressure cooker. The scientists, they have their laboratories where they experiment with animals, or with electricity, or with digital zeros and ones. And the designers, they have sort of the artistic realm where they can freely experiment with shapes, with functions, and with materials, and also maybe even with cultural ideas of how we relate to wealth, how to relate to people becoming older and older, and young people, what is their part in society. I think that's something every designer would like to engage to, questions like that. Any remarks still? Yes, I've got a couple of those. I'll come to you later on.
Well, I have a question for the designers, because we're talking constantly about engaging with the world, and we're talking about art and design, but what about design and forecasting? Do you get inspired or influenced by her stories? Or are you like doing radically something different? How do you see that? How do you see her work and how do you perceive her stories? And how do you relate it to your work as a designer?
Does he make you think? Does Lee make you think? Exactly. If Lee is talking about a mask,
How does she affect your work, or how do you see?
Do you think differently about what design is and even your own personal work after hearing Lee talk? That's what you're saying. Okay, come on. No? Yes. No. I'll come back to you later on. But from now on, everyone is first before you. But I'll come to you. No worries.
The most important thing I learned from her is follow your gut feeling, and that really works for me.
Yeah, but I think apart from the personal inspiration, do you look differently at your work? For example, I can imagine that the two girls who made that piece of the cups there, from the clay, from different layers, I highly doubt whether they were thinking about the multicultural society. But if Lee says, like, because this is really cutting edge 2010, 2011, it was made at that time, because that was the sort of the first time that it was scratches on the multicultural society, they started to think about their work. Okay, maybe I did get influenced by that, but I didn't know it. So in a sort of, how do you say, subconscious way almost.
No, it's okay. I like while we saw the movie, I had all kinds of ideas in my head, because it's interesting to hear from an individual person how he reacts to things. I don't think okay, this is Lee. She's the prophet of everything, but just as a person, how he reacts on design, I think it's already inspiring and interesting. And even when I walk around in the graduation show, I get inspired, but as a person. And I don't think it depends what is the position of the person. I think it's the moment a person is reacting on something and telling, okay, it provoked my feelings, it provoked, if I touched it in a new way, that I never touched something else. That's already interesting.
But also maybe new perspectives on what you've made? Like, wow, I've never looked at my design in that sort of way.
Also to answer her question, for me it's like you have nature and nurture, and it's a combination of both, and you don't really know what is like coming from yourself and what is like thought or something else. Yes, it is both. You need both to grow.
The left side of this room, like the right and the left. The brains in the hands, no? Nothing coming from that part? No? No, it could have been the other way around. If I stand like this, it's the other way around. So there was nothing meant. Very, very interesting question. Very interesting question. It also touches the influence and the power Lee has. You know, I think if there was someone, say 7, 8, 9 years ago, in the design world that could have made or broken somebody, it was Lee. I don't think, and personally, I don't think she ever broken someone, but I'm sure that she made some people greater than they would have been.
I think in the retail she still has that influence. So what she says you can see back, after a couple of years back in the retail, because the designers that are working for that market, they listen to trend forecasts a lot, and they have to work upfront a couple of years ahead anyway. So probably the fact that most people here think, well, I don't let what Lee says influence my work, is because you're working autonomous from your own ideas and your own perspective, and you're not looking at the whole society and where it's going yet. It works the other way around probably. She looks at autonomous designers to see what is happening, and she takes the bird's eye view.
Well, she told at the beginning of the film, it was actually a hunch, like, almost like a physical animal, like a hawk, like, you know, they're way up in the air, and all of a sudden they see something. It's almost that physical that her hunches probably are.
Maybe I'm not now just questioning her, because now she has a really big role, especially in the retail. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, because everything goes so fast, that they are lazy to look at their own perspectives or on the retail. Yeah. Or are they just getting the information from Lee and thinking, yeah, it's okay, everyone will do it, and we just do like everyone, because it's so fast going forward with fashion and that kind of things. So I'm questioning, is it now that she got the power that she can decide what's on, or are they still thinking that she sees it like a hawk,
Well, retailers tend to be lazy, have always been, really.
I have a reaction on that again, and actually an observation about this observator, like Lidewij Edelkoort. It's too bad she isn't here, because everything we see, it is coming out of her nest, like literally. Like it's her comfort design, and she didn't react at all at the whole digital world, which goes super fast, and all the bling bling, and the multiple social design, and whatever, which is really now. There's no reaction.
No, it's a very personal pick. And this is, of course, also her personal collection. And I think the stuff that she personally buys or have in your house doesn't necessarily mean that it's, you know, tells something about the bigger world in a way of, for example, technology, or we could think about other aspects as well, nature. It's only, I think she has a very romantic sort of, I'd say almost twisted view on nature. Nature is always good and nice and old, but nature is ugly and is mean. You don't see that in her work, or hardly. Only what humans do to nature in that aspect, but not nature itself in its ugly side. So there's definitely a romantic take on design in her collection. Yeah. I think we could stay here for at least another hour, but what we also could do is, sorry? You still had a question? I didn't see your hand. Oh, somebody really has a question. Oh, no. So what are you doing here?
What the hell? So I'm part of maybe society interacting with designers. I'm coming to you. So my question was indeed, like, if you walk out of these doors, you know, what does it change in your thinking, and what does it change in your work as well? But that answer was raised already.
So we could stay here for at least an hour, but we could really go into depth and go to the bar and have a drink with it. I think that usually works pretty well. On a personal note, what I take from I've had a couple of conversations earlier on with Lee, and I know her way of looking at design, and for me it's always inspirational because what makes, and I saw it again in the presentation of an hour, she always sees things in design or in an object that I don't see. And she always sees something that's hidden under the surface. And I think that's really interesting. And I do think that's really important. Because so many chairs, and only the chairs that tell you preferably a story that you wouldn't have thought up yourself, that's what we need, stories. Because the chair's enough, but we do need stories. I think that's the strength of Lee. Having said that, I'm going to give the mic back to Anemone, who of course is the real host of this evening. I hope you all had an enjoyable evening. I had a great time with you guys and reflecting and provoking and poking a little bit of your ideas, and I'm looking forward to seeing your objects out in the world. It was a pleasure being here. Anemone.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here. The next one will be, I think, in March. We will have a talk again, and then, of course, we have a new exhibition, so I hope to welcome you all again. For now, let's go to the bar. We are a non-subsidized cultural organization, so we need you to spend money here. A couple of us are joining the meetup table. We do that every other week. On Thursday night, we have a meetup table where you can join us for food and for drinks and for nice conversations. So when you want to hook up, please leave your name and your email address on the bar. Thank you, and when you have any questions, I will hear it later on.